Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business. Tonight it's all about saving money, and who doesn't like to save money? I know I do. I am happy to have Jerry Lotz, who is the owner and savings advisor of CostSeg Energy Solutions. In addition, Jerry also serves as an agent for Cost Segregation Services, Inc., based out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the acronym is CSSI. CSSI is an independent company that provides engineering-based cost segregation studies and tangible property regulation consultations. Well, welcome, Jerry. You are a busy person.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I look forward to this opportunity of sharing some information with you and the audience.
Absolutely. We're happy to have you.
Yes, indeed.
Well, how did you get started with this company?
You know, it's funny. I come from a medical sales background, and in the medical sales, there was not really a big need for networking with people of other professions. But when that career came to an end, I realized there was a whole other world out there when I started networking with commercial lenders, commercial realtors, banking professionals, website designers. And I met the folks at CSSI during that whole networking process. So from there, it's just been, I was fascinated by the concept of what they do. And I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, always wanted to do something on my own. And this really gives me the opportunity to do something on my own, to be my own boss, but to have the backup of just a couple of stellar teams of professionals that always do the right thing.
Okay.
Could you explain to us, Mr. Lotz? May I call you Jerry?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. Jerry, there's so much to this that I honestly know nothing about.
Okay.
And you talk about engineering-based cost segregation studies.
Okay.
And tangible property regulation consultation.
Yeah.
Could you break that down for us so we have an understanding of what it is that you do?
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you. So we are at Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the headquarters for CSSI. There are about 35 employees there that are made up of engineers, project coordinators, data analysts. And they are experts in the field of evaluating and picking apart buildings and putting a value on the intricacies that make up that particular property. And the reason that we do that is because the IRS says that when somebody has a commercial building, for example, they are supposed to depreciate that over a 39-year time cycle. So if somebody has a small little office complex that's $390,000 in value, they would take that $390,000 and divide it into equal depreciation expenses of $10,000 a year. So $10,000 times 39 years. At the end of that term, they have fully depreciated that property. But there are some changes to the tax code that said that if you can put a value on certain pieces of that property, they can be depreciated more quickly. So the IRS set up tables of classifications of property that can be depreciated in 5 years, 7 years, or 15 years. things like countertops and carpets and cabinetry and decorative moldings may fall into a 5-year depreciation or a 7-year depreciation category. Things like landscaping and the sidewalk and site improvements might fall into a 15-year depreciation category. So our company goes into this $390,000 building and evaluates every little nook and cranny that makes up that building and the exterior of that building. And out of that $390,000, we may find $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 worth of assets that can be put into either that 5, 7, or 15-year category. So what we're doing, we are reclassifying some of that building's assets into a shorter depreciation category, which may give that client more deductions early on up front to offset their income. So just like you and I, when we make an income for ourselves, we look at the income that we've made and match it up against the expenses that we've had. Maybe there's charitable contributions, mortgage interest, whatever that make up expenses that we had to offset our income. So the more expenses we have to offset the income, the less federal taxes we pay. So our studies reclassify those assets and give that building owner more expenses to offset the income so they pay less taxes. So we're not accountants, we're engineers, but we work very closely with those building owners and with their tax professional. So we'll do the calculations, then consult with the tax professional how to apply those calculations to the client's tax return in order to maximize their tax savings.
Wow.
Okay.
Does that help?
It helps a lot. Yes, because I did not know. So thank you for that.
Well, it was funny.
Myself, and I'm sure for our listening audience as well, because some of them do have businesses and possibly own property or preparing to own property.
Sure.
This is valuable information.
Yeah, thank you. It's and I tell you, the new tax laws are extremely friendly for people and companies that have property. Some of those new acceleration guidelines are just very, very friendly.
Oh.
Okay. Now, does your study work for the average homeowner?
Our tax savings study for accelerating depreciation would not be applicable to you or I in our home that we own and reside in.
Okay.
If you owned a rental condo at the beach, for example, and you rented that property out, then we could come and do our study on the property that you rented, and any tax savings or additional depreciation deductions could be applied to offset the income that you're generating from that property at the beach.
Oh, okay. So this is basically for people that own real estate for business, mostly real estate investors.
As far as the tax savings piece, real estate investors for people that own apartment buildings, apartment complexes, and doctors that may own their building that they're working out of, or people that own a self-storage facility, just about any kind of property it can apply to. Now, the other piece of what I do in cost savings does apply to both consumers and business owners.
Okay. And can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, we it's funny, as I've been working with business owners and helping them save on their taxes, a lot of them oftentimes are just so excited about that savings that they'll say to me, well, are there other types of savings initiatives that you may be aware of? And I've recently affiliated with a company that does help consumers and businesses to save on everyday recurring types of expenses, things like cell phone bills or cable and internet charges, heating oil, electricity costs, security contracts, pest control contracts, and the list is growing more every day. This organization has had about over 1,000 bills uploaded to their platform, and of those 1,000 service bills that have been uploaded, they've been able to save those clients over $500,000 in costs. That's a pretty significant record. So for me personally, for example, I uploaded our family cell phone bill, and the company took a look at it and was able to come back with about $580 worth of savings over a 2-year period. So they're not out to switch service providers, but they know the right buzzwords to say in renegotiating a contract that I may have on, whether it's my cell phone or a cable or internet or whatever. And so they saved $590 over 2 years. Now they split the savings with me, so they keep a portion and I keep the half of that savings as well. But I didn't have to do a thing except upload a bill. I saved $290 over a 2-year period. Plus they got me an extra 4 gigabytes of data usage at the same time.
Wow, I definitely need to get that done, because I'm getting upset with my cell phone service.
It's funny. It's not funny, but it's interesting how oftentimes the new clients get all the benefit, from one provider to another, and loyal people like yourselves and me, who have been maybe with the same provider for a number of years, just keep paying those rates. And it takes somebody who is skilled in the negotiation process to work on our behalf to make a change for us.
Yes, I definitely need that. I've been pretty good with the cable company.
Sure.
Because I've gotten them down to a price that I feel is fair. Sure.
Well, there's no cost for us to analyze a bill, and in some cases they'll come back and say, look, you've already got the best deal that we could potentially find out there. We can't do anything additional for you. We can check back with you in another year to see if maybe there's an opportunity, but and there's no cost for them to look at it and come back and give you the peace of mind that you've already got a great deal.
Okay.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that too, because now, in addition to helping on the tax savings piece, we can help everybody on just recurring expenses.
Well, I'll be sending you my cell phone bill.
Well, thank you. Sure. Yeah, be happy to our folks to take a look at it.
Yes, absolutely. So on the consumer side, what other things do you help with in terms of helping people get savings?
On the consumer side, it really revolves around those everyday expenses. Even things like electricity. There are now, with energy deregulation having come into effect 15 years or so ago, consumers have an opportunity to choose the supplier that they wish to purchase their electricity from. Now, the local BGE or Pepco or whatever utility company would still service the home, but the consumer has an option to say, well, I want my electricity to come through Constellation or to come through Pepco or Direct Energy or Horizon Energy. And that's a perfectly good thing. And over the years, they've probably grown to about 40 different alternative energy suppliers that are sanctioned with the utility company to be able to provide electricity. So as a consumer, it's challenging to know which of those 40 or so suppliers may have the most preferential rates that are out there. This same company that negotiates these, like the cell phone contracts, also monitors those suppliers that are sanctioned by a particular utility company. and will look for, it's really a technology-based system that they have. They'll monitor those suppliers and look for the best rate that's out there for a particular term. And automatically, once I signed up for the service, they automatically, if they see a better rate coming down the road, they will switch my supply from one supplier to another supplier, just so I can be assured that I'm paying the best rate going forward.
Wow, that's interesting.
And then sometimes on like the business side as well, there are companies who own property, and everybody pays property tax. Well, for businesses, it can be very, very substantial. So we will go, and some of our affiliates will negotiate with the authorities and present a case to have property taxes lowered for businesses as well.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. And I know a lot of investors probably didn't even realize they could do that.
You're right.
Yeah, because they feel, because it's a institution, and basically they just say, well, this is what you need to pay, and most people just go ahead and pay it without challenging them.
Sure.
So that's very interesting.
So does that also apply to people who are paying residential taxes?
We don't get involved with the residential piece of it. Okay. There are some entities out there that will negotiate on behalf of a residential client. The amount of work that's involved in those types of negotiations is pretty significant, whether it's on a residential or a business side. But the savings percentages are greatly enhanced on the commercial side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how can our audience get in touch with you? Because I'm sure we have some investors listening and some people that own several different properties, and they really need to know you.
I live in the Baltimore metropolitan area. My services are not confined to any geographic area. I can work with a business owner or a consumer pretty much in any state in some capacity or another. My cell phone number, I can share that if you like.
Okay, go right ahead.
410-960-8269. And certainly somebody can gain more information on my website at www.costseges.com. CostSeges.com. So those are two ways that, people can get in touch with me. And, I mentioned I come from a medical sales background. I'll never forget, this was probably 15 years ago. It was about 11:45, and there are 8 of us sitting in a room, and our vice president of sales is up at the whiteboard making some drawings. All of our stomachs are growling because we were hungry. It was just getting ready for lunchtime, and he turns and cocks his head and he says, "You know what? You don't know what you don't know." And everybody just looked at him like, what in the world is he talking about? But it sunk in. It really sunk in. And it's so true. And I think of that. I think of Pete, who the gentleman's name, who had said that. I think of him almost every day when I'm in a situation talking to somebody. And it's like there's so many things out there to gain interest of. And whether I'm talking to tax professionals or consumers, it's a fun process that I have in educating people to open up a little bit. And there's a lot more to things sometimes than it appears. So that's why we will never hesitate to run a free pre-analysis of tax savings, or to look at one of those recurring bills, because you don't know what you don't know. Maybe there's an opportunity to find tax savings. Maybe there's an opportunity to save on a pest control contract, or Maybe there's an opportunity to upgrade your building to a LED lighting platform and save on your utility bill, and also capture a tax savings based on the stuff, in quotation marks, based on the stuff that the contractor throws in the dumpster. So, and those are some of the other forensic types of calculations that we get into without getting too far into the weeds. So it's a lot of tax analysis and little pieces of things that we can find oftentimes when working with clients. And most tax professionals are really good at what they do, but the tax code is 3,000 and 4,000 pages in depth, and it's the tax professional or CPA or accountant's job to know that tax code a mile wide and an inch deep, and our specialty is really to know our specialty of it very much succinctly, a mile deep, but only an inch wide. Mm-hmm. So we really fine tune what it is that we know in our specialty. And I tell you that the company, CSSI, will go up to the wall, top of that wall with the tax code, and we will look over that top of that wall, but we won't cross it because we really want to do the right thing for the client and the tax professional.
Wow.
Okay. That's a whole different way of looking at taxes and what is available. Like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And this is, for me, a lot of what I don't know. And I'm certain other people are thinking the same thing and would really look forward to talking with you. Because what you don't know can hurt you.
Yeah, I've heard that before too.
Yes.
Because I love what I do and welcome calls, and whether they're computer Zoom or Skype meetings or in-person meetings. I really enjoy what I do.
Excellent.
And what I'm loving is that you work all over the country, so that's huge in itself.
I can do that. The company CSSI, the engineering-based company, has been around about 17 years, and they've actually done studies on more than 20,000 properties across the country.
Wow. That's quite a record.
Yeah, and everything from a $200,000 rental condo to a $1 billion+ resort complexes. Wow. So they're excellent at what they do, and I can sleep at night knowing they're always going to do the right thing.
Wow, that's even better to hear that there's a lot of integrity involved with this company, because so many people say they're going to save you money, they're going to do this, and a lot of times they don't live up to that expectation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that's good to hear, that there's a company that still believes in integrity.
Yeah, very much so.
For sure. So, question that I have, how do people typically reach out to you? Is it through the tax preparer or the accountant or the business owner themselves?
It really comes from all facets. I do a lot of networking with lending professionals, with commercial real estate agents, property managers, and an awful lot with tax professionals. I'm a corporate sponsor for a couple of local tax professional organizations, and they have full-day continuing education programs. So I probably spend in the course of a year 40 days at day-long CPE events where my job is to sponsor the organization. I've got an exhibit table outside of the room where they're having their classes. I get to go in and do a brief overview of what I do, and then I certainly meet with them at the different breaks and throughout lunch. And it's really an educational process. And they may not have a client that's got a building today, but they may go home, and then next week they may get a client or something that's in their files may spark up in their head, say, wow, I do have this client that I'm going to call Jerry about and see what we can do.
Wow.
So they really come from all over the place. But because of the intense amount of time that I spend with tax professionals, probably a good majority come right from the tax professional.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure most business, property owners that handle commercial property, they probably put all of that weight on the tax preparer to help
Yes.
save money. Yeah, they're just not going to walk up and say, I need to save money, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, other than
Right.
to their CPA or tax preparer.
Right. And it's the new Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017 really has increased the awareness of what it is that we do. So we're getting more, and there's a lot more publicity about it. A lot more mom and pop building owners, for lack of a better way to put it, are reading articles about it, and they are, coming to us that way as well. And sometimes I'll get a mom and pop business owner come to us and ask questions about this and say, well, why hasn't my CPA told me about this? And CPAs, as I mentioned before, have got an awful lot on their plate. They've got to know that tax code a mile wide and an inch deep, whereas our specialty is only an inch deep. It's our specialty is really a mile deep and an inch wide in what we do. So I can't fault the CPA for not totally knowing about what we do. They've got enough on their plate. Mm-hmm. That's why we're around. We really, we help them to save their clients money.
Okay. So are you saying that one of the best ways for your information to have the best effect, so to speak, is to get it to those people who are tax preparing professionals?
They are the ones that come in contact with the people that actually own the building. So they've got a vested interest in saving potentially multiple clients money.
Okay.
Yeah, and some tax preparers, only work with consumers like you and I. Mm-hmm. But some tax preparers, maybe 20 or 30% of their business is small businesses. Some tax preparers, even a larger 50% of their business is with business owners, and they may even have a specialty focus in real estate or manufacturing facilities or whatever their specialty focus is. So they're going to be the tax professional is going to be the aggregator of clients or people that own buildings.
Okay.
And it's their reputation that's going to be on the line, really, to be able to get the most tax savings for their clients. So if hopefully they can reach out to somebody like us, we can do everything within our legal lawful power to help find a tax savings for their client. They know that they've got a reputable company behind them in preparing those calculations, so that in the event that they had a client that comes under an audit situation, mm-hmm. We would defend the work that we did on the client's behalf and the CPA's behalf at no additional charge.
That's awesome. That is probably like gold to some people's ears, to know that there is such a company as yours and the ones that you work with, because that's where often people get left in the lurch or get dumped in the trenches.
Right.
Is that the companies that let's say their CPA or whoever work with, when it comes down to defending the decisions that were made, they don't have a backup.
Sure.
And I can imagine for someone who has substantial holdings, or even for someone who's just starting out with a commercial building, right, this is what you offer is critical to their being able to continue in business with peace of mind.
Yes.
As far as their taxes are concerned.
Yes, it's we at CSSI like to refer to as that we provide executive sleep to building owners and CPAs. So we allow them to sleep at night knowing that we did the right thing and we're going to back up the work that they did.
Excellent.
It's going down this road. It's interesting because one of the misconceptions about what we do that even some tax professionals have is that, I've been doing this person's taxes for 5-10 years a certain way, and now all of a sudden I'm going to change the way I do these taxes and apply cost segregation to this building. As soon as I do that, it's going to trigger an IRS audit. That's really the furthest thing from the truth. Because we came in and did work for a client, that in and of itself is not going to trigger an IRS audit. There's going to be something else way back in the closets of that client's tax return that's going to trigger an audit. And that has happened sometimes to some of the clients that we've done work for. And as I mentioned, our work gets dragged into it whenever a client goes under an audit situation. In the 20,000 plus properties that we've done, maybe a dozen, 24 times that clients have come under audit situations. And in every time that that's happened, the IRS has never overturned any of the work that we've done.
Awesome. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so that says that you cross all your T's and dot all your I's.
We sure do. As I mentioned, we'll go up to that top of that wall and look over it, but we won't cross it.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Again, it comes down to, if anyone is listening to this, and as we put this information out there, as a result of this interview, anyone who is considering doing commercial business and needs commercial property, it would be a good idea to contact you. At what point in the process of buying, purchasing, setting up their commercial property, at what point should someone contact you?
Ruth, that's a very, very good question. I mentioned I do a fair amount of networking with commercial real estate professionals. And if somebody is considering buying a piece of property and they would like to send me an offering memorandum about that property or a real estate listing on that property, I can prepare for them an estimate of tax savings that they could enjoy after they bought that property. So, for example, if a commercial property costs $2 million and the bank says, well, we want you to put 20% down. So that client's got to come up with $400,000 to put down as 20% of that $2 million property that they want to buy. If I can show them with a pre-analysis that we can help them potentially save $200,000 in federal taxes, that just allows his cost of entry now not to be $400,000, but we've helped him save 200 more back. So now he's only paying 200,000 to get into that property. Now he may potentially can afford to buy another property. So that's even before the transaction took place, just off of an offering memorandum or a real estate listing that we can prepare those calculations.
Very fine.
Yeah.
So we would prepare those estimates, and then the client would say, okay, the estimate is for XYZ, the cost is going to be ABC. I'd like to engage the study. And at the time they engage the study, we require half of the cost of it or deposit up front. And then the process really begins, where we go and gather any of the architectural drawings from the client that they may have on the property, any appraisals that may have been done, any other evidences or invoices for past work, anything really that they can get their hands on that is germane to that particular property. We go and gather all that information. It gets fed to our engineers and analysts in Louisiana. Then somebody actually goes on site and does a site survey for the property. And if it's within reasonable distance, I love to do that myself, because oftentimes it's an opportunity for me to really, spend a couple hours with that property owner and build a rapport, and you never know what you can find out from a property owner while you're walking around for a couple hours in the property. So that site visit would include, a little narrative that I would prepare, and then taking hundreds of pictures of every little nook and cranny of that property. And all that goes to our engineers and analysts. Once they have that complete package of information, it takes them a good 4 to 6 weeks to filter through that. And it's not only one person at the office that handles that information. One person will look at it, then they'll bounce it off another person and have somebody else review it as well. So there are multiple people, multiple checks and balances that come into play just to make sure that we're maximizing the tax savings for the client.
I was just about to ask you, what's the timeline?
Okay, perfect.
And you answered that question.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, typically it's about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we will come back with a set of calculations that the tax professional can use to apply to the tax return, along with a full narrative report. The typical report is probably anywhere from 20 to 50 pages long, depending on the in-depth nature of the study.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay, and I'll say this too. This is interesting, and you brought it in this last piece that you spoke about, the fact that there is a human involvement piece.
Yes,
There's
sure.
actually, it's not all technology, just numbers plugged into a computer. You're actually talking and physically working with people.
Absolutely.
And that I think is a very important element, because someone who doesn't know anything about this, first hearing of it, would think that it's all numbers just plugged into a computer.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's a human element makes a big difference. At least it does to me.
Sure.
I want to know that there's somebody that I'm talking to, that there's conversations going on.
Right.
So that's very important. I think that's important to me. Certainly, I'm sure it's important to other people who are listening.
Yeah. It's a fun process. It's a very detailed process, and oftentimes we'll work with a tax professional that may be not quite as astute as another tax professional in this whole process. So, we'll have to get on the phone and coach them up, or educate them, or instruct them how to apply some of these numbers. And we're happy to do that, and there's no additional charge for us to do that. It's all based into, it's just what we do. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you do a lot.
Yes, you
That's
do.
all I can say. You do a lot, and that's just.
We try, and it's a fun. It makes me so happy to see studies come back where we have over exceeded our expectations, and 97+% of the time, our tax savings estimates are under what we actually achieve. So we always 97% of the time we overachieve our estimates.
Wow.
Excellent.
That is awesome. So again, please give us your information, because everything that you have said has been valuable, and I didn't know any of this. So I have definitely been educated in this moment talking with you.
Well, thank you. And I've certainly enjoyed talking with you. You've made this a most relaxing process, and your demeanor and your soft-spokenness, I really appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate you. So again, share your information.
So the cell phone number for me is area code 410-960-8269. And the website is www.CostSegES.com, CostSeg Energy Solutions.
Okay. I'll definitely be sharing this with a few folks, your information that I know that are real estate investors, and I know that they would love to have you on their team.
Thank you. Yeah, we're happy to help them.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much, Jerry. This has been very enlightening. Ruth, is there anything you want to add?
Just thank you. this was educational and eye-opening for myself, and I'm sure many others. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to share this really valuable information.
Absolutely. And Ruth, pleasure to meet you. And Ida, pleasure to talk with you again, and look forward to working with both of you soon in the future. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the opportunity.
I've got some work for you already.
Okay. Happy to do it.
I may have some too. Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Take care now.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Word on the street says there's something new at Just Minding My Business Media. You've heard our podcast, Just Minding My Business Radio, that brings news and views you can use. That airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and Spreaker. Well, now you can watch Just Minding My Business. That's right, Just Minding My Business Media now has a TV presence on Raven International TV Network, broadcast on Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV, through Just Minding My Business dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmmb.asistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Thank you to the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and our media partners. Let Just Minding My Business Media promote your business. For information, visit us at jmmb.asistercircle.org. That's jmmb.asistercircle.org. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.